Okay, so hello everybody, good morning and welcome back to by the way, this is good afternoon. Okay, so good afternoon and welcome back to the EduphoreIAS, the Hindu analysis class. Sorry for a bit late, we are 10 minutes late today. चलो, आज हम स्टार्ट करते हैं क्विकली, कल के क्वेश्चंस देख लेते हैं और उसके बाद फिर आज की डिस्कशन हम स्टार्ट करेंगे. तो कल 7th of August को दो क्वेश्चंस आपको दिए गए थे, क्विकली सी. The first was related to this publication of 75 endemic birds of India that was recently released on 100th Foundation Day of Zoological Survey of India. This is the first statement. You need to check it out whether this is correct or not. And we discussed this article yesterday. So from there, I hope you have got the right answer for this question and you could have marked the right answer as well. Fine. So this was not 100th, but rather, if you can recall, it was 108th, 108th, not just 100. Fine. So that's the issue here. Next is, India is home to approximately 14.4% of the global bird. This is fine. Second statement is correct. Second statement is yes, correct. Third is, Manipur bush quail is listed as critically endangered by the IUCN. Critically endangered. But yesterday we discussed that this is endangered as per the IUCN red list of threatened species and not critically. So this is wrong. This is not 100th, is 108th. So two statements are wrong here, first and third. So just correct 2 and 4. Fine. Second is correct, fourth is correct. So you see, only 2 pairs, you need to choose the pairs. So only 2 pairs out of the given 4 are correct for this question. Fine. Next question is, India's sugar surplus is leading to a crisis. Critically examine this statement. We discussed this question in detail yesterday, that is India's sugar surplus leading to a crisis. तो क्रिटिकली एग्जामिन हमें करना है इस चीज को, मींस हमें क्रिटिसिज्म भी लिखना है, ठीक है. तो अगेन हम उसी चीज को बेसिक फॉलो करेंगे, दैट इज आईबीसी रूल. फाइन. आईबीसी रूल को हम फॉलो करेंगे एंड आईबीसी रूल में इंट्रो, बॉडी एंड कंक्लूजन. सो लेट अस डिस्कस दिस वन बाय वन एंड आप अपने आंसर्स को इवेलुएट कैसे करोगे? बाय चेकिंग वेदर व्हाटएवर आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस दिस कीवर्ड्स आर देयर इन योर आंसर्स और नॉट. अगर नहीं है तो फिर दोबारा से इसको पढ़ करके रीराइट करना, एंड अगर है तो इवैल्यूएट योरसेल्फ अकॉर्डिंगली. फाइन. ओके. So this news that we discussed was related to the India's sugar surplus leading to crisis. And why so? Because we in the intro part you can start that India has become the world's top sugar producer. At the same time, India is largest consumer in the world of sugar. Fine. And India has become the world's top producer, this surpassing Brazil in year 2021 and 2022. Fine. See, whenever you find some economy related question, you can start with the data facts as well. Fine, that's not a problem. But bombardment of data नहीं करनी, इस चीज का ध्यान रखना. यहाँ facts, but just use the most significant facts or data. Fine. But the extensive, now this is how you can introduce this much of your this introductory paragraph. India became the world's top sugar producer in 2021-22, surpassing Brazil, but the extensive use of resources in sugar production is depleting rapidly and therefore leading to a potential crisis in the future. So this is the complete introduction. Fine. In context to the question itself. Now, India's sugar surplus is leading to a crisis. How? We have already introduced. Now comes the introduction. बस इतनी ही होगी, 3 to 4 lines max. For 15 marks a question है, तो maximum you could have 4 to 5 lines of intro, not more than that, remember. Fine. Next comes the body. Now body में क्या लिखना है? तो body में 15 marks a question है, 250 words में लिखना है. So let us say 50 words for intro, 50 for let us keep it for conclusion or way forward. Means you are left with 150 words. So somewhere 100 to 120 you can devote to your body. ठीक है, body part of this answer. तो बॉडी पार्ट में आपने क्या लिखना, सिंस दिस क्वेश्चन इज asking you to critically examine this surplus, means whenever you are getting the question related to critically examine, you need to address the both aspect whether they have asked or not. But since the question is specific about critically examine, so critical जो part है, जो criticism है, वो तो आपने हर हाल में mention करना ही करना है. साथ में you also need to show the positive things as well in order to make your answer a balanced one. Fine. So therefore you can start on this. You have already started. Now you can start like, why is there excess sugar production, the way we discussed yesterday. So for this you can start like with maintaining the flow with respect to your introductory part. You can start like the sugar surplus and the high exports. These are the two. Higher exports are of course a good thing, but sugar surplus jo hai, that has become actually a point of crisis. And how? Because it is leading to depletion of resources. Actually it is a kind of guzzler plant that we discussed yesterday. So it is consuming more of, or leading to more of extraction of groundwater. So therefore in that sense it is an it is leading to somewhat crisis. So you can write like the sugar surplus and high exports as a result of policies favoring sugarcane cultivation. जैसे हमने कल देखा भी था कि मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस की जगह पे यहाँ पे होता है FRP. Fine, that is fair and remunerative prices. So I can repeat, the sugar surplus and high exports are as a result of policies favoring sugarcane cultivation such as fair and remunerative price scheme and state government subsidies. So these are basically driving or leading to crisis that or resulting into higher production. Fine, India's top sugarcane growing states rely heavily on groundwater for irrigation, leading to concerns over groundwater depletion. So these are the 2 points of you have written for criticism part, let us say, or the limitations, that how the the things are getting worse, or you can say leading to crisis. Now you need to change the track of your answer. You can write down like, however, there are certain policies and programs of the government, or the efforts that the governments have undertaken in the recent times, which are also making proper use of this surplus production. Fine, and therefore also leading to or helping India become net zero by 2070. And now related to this you can mention sub points like ethanol blending program. Fine, where we are using जैसा कि कल एक डेटा फैक्ट भी आप मेंशन कर सकते हो, like for example if you have produced 394 lakh tons of in the year 21 total sugar produced, out of that 350 lakh tons were actually diverted to the production of ethanol. Fine, related to the ethanol blending petrol program. So therefore you are now giving the positive sides of this, that yes, even we can have some advantage as well of this higher or surplus production of sugarcane. Not everything is just negative or disadvantages. After that you can also go to like, how does excessive sugarcane cultivation impact groundwater. So you can mention in your criticism point this groundwater extraction as well. Apart from that, discussing all this, now you need to conclude your answer. So always conclude your answer on futuristic lines, fine, with affirmative tones, with suggestions or the solutions. So either conclusion or way forward. You can mention here things like while for example, while the environmental implication of excess sugar production, that is coming from the excess water extraction or groundwater extraction, should be clear. Surplus production and exports have actually have enormous financial gain as well, leading to this build up of or increment in or increases our foreign exchange reserves as well. Fine, and amounting to lakhs or crore of rupees a year. Isna nahi, bas this much, helping in boosting our foreign exchange reserves. Next is briefly likhna hai. A better and more sustainable way would be assess and then correct incentives that skew in favor of sugarcane, because favorable incentives मिल रही, subsidies मिल रही, इसलिए farmers have been empowered to produce more and more. Therefore इसको assess करने की जरूरत है. Apart from that, next solution could be like introducing fair and comprehensive subsidy schemes for other crops, because government की जो focus है वो इस पे है कि डाइवर्सिफाई करें हम क्रॉप प्रोडक्शन को. सो इस मोनोकल्चर जो मोर ऑफ शुगर कैन प्रोडक्शन हो रही है, उससे अगर डिफरेंट लाइक पल्सिस जैसे उगाए, और भी कुछ जैसे मिलेट की बात चल रही है, इंटरनेशनल ईयर ऑफ मिलेट करंटली गोइंग ऑन 2023. तो देयरफॉर इन चीज़ों को प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट को कुछ इंसेंटिवाइज करना पड़ेगा फार्मर्स को, ठीक है. तो इसलिए आप जो सब्सिडीज जो आप रेम्यूनरेशन यहाँ पे दे रहे हो वहां से थोड़ी बहुत आप रैशनलाइज करके आप दूसरे क्रॉप के लिए दे सकते हो, जहाँ पे फार्मर्स encouraged होंगे, empowered होंगे for production of those sets of crops. Another solution, next solution could be that this all steps must be complemented by environmentally responsible sugarcane cultivation practices that prioritize groundwater such as drip irrigation. तो जो भी प्रॉब्लम्स आपने मेंशन किया उसका सोल्यूशन भी देना है. सपोज अगर ग्राउंड वाटर एक्सट्रैक्शन ज्यादा हो रही है तो उसको हम मिनिमाइज कैसे कर सकते हैं, थ्रू द यूज ऑफ ड्रिप इरिगेशन. फाइन. सो रिमेंबर ऑलवेज दिस थिंग कि जो भी आपने लिस्ट किए प्रॉब्लम्स उसका सोल्यूशन भी प्रोवाइड करना है. दिस इज द जॉब ऑफ अ ब्यूरोक्रेट, नॉट ओनली फाइंडिंग आउट द लिस्टिंग द आउट द प्रॉब्लम्स. ठीक है. सो इक्विवेलेंट हमें सोल्यूशन भी प्रोवाइड करने हैं. फर्दर यू कैन से कि as India continues to become more and more this of a global front runner in the agriculture sector, it must push sustainability at the center, keeping in mind the Sustainable Development Goals 2023, 2030 or Agenda 2030. So this is how this is the should be the structure of your answer, actually the framework of your answer. So for complete 15 marks, this much of order I provided because of considering the marks and word limit of this question, because it is of 15 marks. तो अगर आपके आंसर में ये सारी चीजें इस ऑर्डर में अगर आपने आंसर लिखा, स्ट्रक्चर किया आपने आंसर को, एंड ये सारी चीजें आपने प्रोवाइड की है, देन यू कैन गिव योर सेल्फ आउट ऑफ 15 समवेयर अराउंड 7 मार्क्स, 6.5 to 7 मार्क्स. देन योर आंसर इज एवरेज वन, फाइन, गुड वन. बट इसको इम्प्रूव करके बेटर वन भी करना है. ठीक है. तो उसके लिए और फर्दर रिवाइट करते रहो, लिखते रहो. फाइन. सो दैट्स आप सो that's it as far as your yesterday's questions are concerned. आज के questions भी हम देखेंगे, but first let us discuss the today's Hindu itself. Fine. तो सबसे पहले हम आज की एनालिसिस देख लेते हैं, उसके बाद फिर हम will be discussing the this you will be getting the questions from today's Hindu itself. ठीक है. सो चलो क्विकली हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. अगर आप लेफ्ट साइड पे देखो तो क्या इंपॉर्टेंट है आज के टाइम में, आज के डेटा से. सो नीदर राइट टू प्राइवेसी नॉर राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन, इट मेक्स द गवर्नमेंट लेस ट्रांसपेरेंट. तो जैसा कि आपको पता होगा कल लोकसभा से, कल राज्यसभा से भी इंपॉर्टेंट बिल्स पास हुए. कल जो दिल्ली रिलेटेड जो बिल था, सर्विसेज टू रेगुलेट द सर्विसेज रिलेटेड टू द अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेट, जो कि हम ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं काफ़ी बारी, उसको भी कल लेट नाइट अराउंड 10 o'clock उसके बाद भी तक राज्यसभा में उस पास करा लिया है गवर्नमेंट ने. ठीक है. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट कल ही लोकसभा से जो डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल है वो भी पास हो गया है. ठीक है. लोकसभा पास इस डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल. तो इस डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल को जो पास किया है, इसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक आर्टिकल है आज के एडिटोरियल पे, उसको हम डिस्कस करेंगे. फाइन. बिकॉज इट इज नॉट जस्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट this privacy or data but also about information. So we'll see how it is interrelated or integrating the two different concepts of privacy and information. ठीक है. So it's important, we'll be discussing this. उसके बाद अगर हम फ्रंट पेज पे देखें तो क्या है, एससी हैज अपॉइंटेड फाइनली ऑल वुमेन, एससी टू अपॉइंट ऑल वुमेन पैनल टू ओवरसी रिलीफ इन मणिपुर. ठीक है. तो नाउ फाइनली सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो है वो सोल्यूशन के साथ आया है, एंड बाय ऑर्डर ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट a bench headed by the Chief Justice of India took the following decisions to help out the affected people in Manipur: to appoint 3 former women High Court judges to provide healing touch, to order DGPs of the 6 states to name 6 DIG rank officers to take charge of 6 SITs each, to enforce multiple layers of monitoring of the investigation, and to make 5 officers of the rank of DSP or SP from other states part of the CBI. Other states probably of course these states should be from the other states, means apart from Manipur. ठीक है. To make officers carry on the investigation under supervision of a CBI joint director. So ये सारी जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन है CBI के joint director के अंडर होगी. ठीक है. In the supervision of joint director. So जो नेम है जो हेड करेंगे इस, you can say top court says it will appoint retired IPS officer Dattatreya Padsalgikar to monitor the overall investigation of cases registered during the violence. तो आपको नाम ही याद रखना है कि दत्तात्रेय पडसालगीकर, retired IPS officer, should be monitoring this. Fine. So remember, appointed an all-women committee of the 3 former High Court judges headed by Justice Geeta Mittal, former Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court. ठीक है, सो याद रखना कि इसको हेड कौन कर रहा है, तो दिस पैनल वुड बी हेडेड बाय जस्टिस गीता मित्तल, फॉर्मर चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ जम्मू एंड कश्मीर हाई कोर्ट. ठीक है, सो दिस मच इज इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम. ठीक है, so this much is important from this. Finally Supreme Court has provided the solution. Fine. नेक्स्ट इज राहुल गांधी वापस रीइंस्टेट कर दिया गया इनको पार्लियामेंट में सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग. ठीक है, राज्यसभा पासिस दिल्ली सर्विसेज बिल फाइनली. ठीक है, पॉलिटिक्स में हम नहीं जाएंगे बट दिस मच इज इंपॉर्टेंट कि है क्या. सो दिस बिल इज नोन एज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ नेशनल कैपिटल टेरिटरी ऑफ दिल्ली अमेंडमेंट बिल 2023. दिस इज रिलेटेड टू. सो ये बिल कर क्या रहा है. सो ऑफ कोर्स द अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ब्यूरोक्रेट्स है वो 3 मेंबर कमेटी हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. सीएम होंगे और एक चीफ सेक्रेटरी और एक होम सेक्रेटरी होंगे. 3 मेंबर के पैनल है जिसकी अपॉइंटमेंट जो भी हायर ब्यूरोक्रेसी में अपॉइंटमेंट्स है उसको देखेंगे. बट नाउ दिस अमेंडमेंट बिल हैज गिवन मोर पावर टू द the final this authority now lies with the LG directly and indirectly with the center because LG has been appointed by center itself. So this is the issue. Fine. उसके बाद local page from Delhi. So again दिल्ली की देख सकते हो क्या कहा यूनियन मिनिस्टर हरदीप सिंह पुरी जी ने कि दिल्ली इज एग्जिस्टिंग ड्रेनेज मास्टर प्लान inadequate to deal with crisis situation. तो मोस्ट ऑफ द सिटीज के ड्रेनेज आप देख सकते हो क्या हाल है. उसके बाद स्टेट्स. सो मोर और लेस पॉलिटिक्स ओनली. पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है हमें. कैन सेफली स्किप दिस पेजेस. अगेन पॉलिटिक्स. ठीक है, चलो तो नेक्स्ट पेज पे चलते हैं. क्विकली एडिटोरियल देखते हैं. यस, तो एडिटोरियल से फर्स्ट इज रिलेटेड टू चाइना, सो हम उसमें ज़्यादा नहीं देखेंगे. लेट अस क्विकली गो टू द सेकेंड आर्टिकल जिसको मैंने बात किया था कि हम डिस्कस करेंगे विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द रिसेंटली पास्ड लोकसभा से सिर्फ पास हुआ है अभी डिजिटल प्रोटेक्शन बिल, पर्सनल दिस डीपीडीपी डिजिटल and personal data protection bill 2023 that has been passed from the Lok Sabha but yet yet to pass from Rajya Sabha. ठीक है, so neither the right to privacy nor the right to information. तो आपको होप की टाइटल से ही पता लग गया होगा कि इसमें क्या बात कर रहे हैं. तो अल्टीमेटली द राइटर इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग और अंडरलाइनिंग द downside or the this negative points of this recently passed digital bill. Neither the right to privacy, right to privacy भी नहीं है, nor the right to information. These are two different things conceptually and even this conceptually and politically as well. So we'll see how these two are related to each other. Governance related matters. So personal data bill will boost digital economy, says NASSCOM. This industry response to the digital personal data protection bill, digital personal data protection bill 2023 that was introduced in parliament reveals that the real purpose of the bill is legalizing data mining rather than safeguarding the right to privacy. ठीक है, so first introduction से आपको पता लग गया होगा कि what the author is going to write, but जरूरी है हमें सिर्फ painted सारी अच्छी चीजें नहीं, सारी पॉजिटिव चीजें सिर्फ ध्यान नहीं रखना, but as a bureaucrat for the exam you are preparing for, you need to be aware of the negative points or the negative part of the bill as well so that you can improve upon. So therefore right to privacy was reaffirmed by 9-judge constitutional bench of the Supreme Court in 2017. Yes, so right to privacy is a fundamental right, ठीक है, under Article 21, right to personal life and liberty, which was reaffirmed by the 9-judge constitutional bench of the Supreme Court in 2017, and the case is known as Justice K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. ये खुद भी जज थे, रिटायर्ड जज. जस्टिस केस पुट्टास्वामी वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया, ये केस है जिसमें कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जजमेंट दिया था एंड फाइनली सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट एस्टैब्लिश राइट टू प्राइवेसी as or reaffirm that right to privacy is as a fundamental rights. It set an international benchmark and illustrate the new challenges to the right to privacy proposed by the digital age. The DPDP Bill 23, which was introduced in the Lok Sabha last week, is an outcome of the debate around the right to privacy. So of course, जब भी डेटा की बात होती है तो privacy is inherent, part of discussion. The right to information, next act जो बात करेंगे हम, right to information provides us access to government documents to ensure transparency and accountability of the government. Enacted as a law, Right to Information Act 2005 has played a critical role in deepening democratic practices. The much awaited DPDP Bill 2023 ends up undermining our right to information without doing much to protect our right to privacy. So she is saying that Right to Information Act, जिसके अंडर आपको इंफॉर्मेशन गवर्नमेंट की या प्राइवेट एजेंसी से या गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज, सपोज आपने एग्जाम दिया, आपको जानना है कि आपके मार्क्स कितने हैं, तो आप आरटीआई फाइल करते हो. तो राइट टू इन्फॉर्मेशन एक्ट जो है एक इंपॉर्टेंट टूल है विच मेक गवर्नमेंट अकाउंटेबल. अलोंगसाइड दैट इट गिव्स रेलिवेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन टू द सिटीजन्स. ठीक है, so therefore it is a tool which actually establishes transparency between the citizens and the government. So she is saying that this recently amendment, this bill or this bill, DPDP bill, is somewhat going to undermine both these two things, that is right to privacy and right to information act 2005 itself. How? Complementary or competing rights. So ये जो दो rights है, right to privacy and right to information, क्या competing है या complementary है? So of course complementary होंगे. In a crucial way, the two rights complement each other. How? Broadly speaking, the right to information seeks to make the government transparent to us, while the right to privacy is meant to protect us from the government. So these are the two rights in simple terms. The right to information जो है वो help करता है to seek or make the government accountable or responsible by seeking information, and right to privacy actually meant to protect us from the government, from government surveillance and all, or intrusion into our personal lives. Yet there are some tensions between the right to information and the right to privacy. For example, under Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, mandatory disclosure provisions are meant to ensure that workers can monitor expenditure and also facilitate public scrutiny through social audits. तो यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल मनरेगा का दिया गया कि इसमें क्या है कि आरटीआई की प्रावधान है, थ्रू आरटीआई अ वर्कर कैन सीक इन्फॉर्मेशन रिलेटेड टू द कि कितनी मिनिमम वेजेस गारंटीड है इसके अंडर, उसके साथ वाले वर्कर को कितना पैसा मिल रहा है. सो ऑल दिस एक्चुअली हेल्प समव्हाट मेकिंग गवर्नमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबल, अकाउंटेबल and making the things or establishing transparency between the citizen and the government. Fine. So this is the example of your, but the flip side of this is, but the downside of this is, it has become apparent in the recent times is that unscrupulous operators, unscrupulous, dishonest or unfair operators monitor, even scrape data. Scrape means damage data systematically to swindle. Swindle is to deprive workers of their hard-earned wages. For example, showing up at their doorstep with offers of lucrative savings or insurance or with wares to sell. तो ये सब चीजें सेविंग्स या इंश्योरेंस के चक्कर में आ जाते हैं एंड जो भी उनके पास पैसे हैं वो ले जाते हैं. ठीक है, सो दिस हैज बिकम अ टूल ऑफ swindling workers of their hard-earned wages, जो कि रिसेंट टाइम में देखने को मिला है. However, the recently introduced DPDP Bill 23 makes little attempt to deal with these hard questions. Instead, it makes the government less transparent to us while making us transparent to both the government and private interests. So this is reverse कि गवर्नमेंट को ट्रांसपेरेंट होना चाहिए, बट नाउ सिटीजन्स एंड को हमें ज़्यादा ट्रांसपेरेंट बनाने की कोशिश है इस बिल के थ्रू with respect to both government and private entities or the interests. So this bill states that it is a bill to provide for the processing of digital personal data in a manner that recognizes both the right of individuals to protect their personal data and the need to process such data for lawful purposes. So this is what being mentioned related to this bill in its statement and objects. Fine. The stated objective क्या है of this bill? Section 4 clause 2 जो है of this bill defines lawful purpose in the broadest possible manner as any purpose which is not expressly forbidden by the law. तो क्लियर कट नहीं है, वेग टर्मिनोलॉजी है. Thus as scraping information on wages and pension paid to workers, pensioners, or mobile numbers of government schemes beneficiaries from the government portals is not expressly forbidden. तो यहाँ से इंफॉर्मेशन जो है आपकी वो लीक हो सकती है, सपोज वेजेस, पेंशंस या जो गवर्नमेंट आपको बेनिफिशियरी जो भी हैं, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस या माइग्रेशन के लिए जो पोर्टल बनाया है अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर के लिए, तो वहाँ पे तो आप अपनी आइडेंटिटी रिवील करोगे ना कि ये मोबाइल नंबर है, ये नेम है, ये प्लेस है, कहाँ रहते हो क्या, तो वहां से भी डेटा लीक हो सकती है. सो दीज आर नॉट फॉरबिडन अंडर दिस बिकॉज दिस कम अंडर डेटा फॉर लॉफुल पर्पसेस, यूज्ड फॉर लॉफुल. नाउ section 36 allows the central government to ask the board. There has been a provision of a board under this bill. So section 36 of this bill is talking about or allowing the central government to ask the board. It means what? It means the government is going to appoint, or government would be having authority over this bill, this board actually. This government is going to ask the board. Data fiduciary. Fiduciary कौन होते हैं? So fiduciary are any entities actually. It can be a person, it can be a company, it can be a let us say this institution as well, or others to furnish such information as it may call for. Now section 4 clause 2 and 36 together अगर read करें हम, तो this make our data fair game for both government and the private entities. ठीक है, सो दोनों को अगर साथ में हम रीड करें तो कहीं ना कहीं दिस आवर डेटा, पर्सनल डेटा has become something like called fair game for both the parties, government and private entities. Now this is undermining the right to information. The Right to Information Act 2005 anticipated some of these tensions and the consequent need to limit its own reach. Therefore section 8 of the RTI lists situation where exemptions from disclosure of information would be granted. तो कह रहे हैं कि कहीं ना कहीं जो RTI है उसने इस चीज़ों को एंटिसिपेट किया था कि फ्यूचर में इस तरह के इश्यूज आ सकती हैं, इसलिए RTI के अंडर एक प्रावधान है सेक्शन 8 जो है वो कुछ डेटा ऐसे हैं, इंफॉर्मेशन ऐसे हैं जिनको एग्जेम्प्ट करता है फ्रॉम रिवीलिंग. गवर्नमेंट कैन डिनाई दैट सच काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन कैन नॉट बी रिवील्ड. जब कोई जनता कोई भी सिटीजन अगर क्वेश्चन करे तो आस्किंग फॉर इंफॉर्मेशन रिलेटेड टू दैट पर्टिकुलर दिस थिंग. ठीक है, तो सेक्शन 81J जो है इट ग्रांट्स एग्जेम्पशन फ्रॉम डिस्क्लोजर इफ द इंफॉर्मेशन विच रिलेट्स टू पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन सॉट has no relationship to any public activity or interest or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual. तो ये है कि डेटा ऐसे जो है उनको डिस्क्लोज नहीं किया जाता unless a public information officer PIO feels that larger public interest justifies disclosure, then only it can be disclosed, otherwise it cannot. So there is already a mechanism of exemption under article this section 8 clause 1 subclause J under Right to Information Act 2005. So it sets a high benchmark for exemption. Information which cannot be denied to the parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. It means कि जो information आप parliament को या legislature को दे सकते हो वही exemptions वही information जो है that cannot be denied to any person. So वही आपको किसी और को भी, किसी आम बंदे को भी दिया जा सकता है. The DPDP Bill 2023 suggests replacing Section 81J जो कि exemption देता है with just information which relates to personal information. समझ रहे हो? तो दिक्कत क्या है कि ये जो बिल है वो Section 81J जो है Right to Information Act 2005 का, उसको कहीं ना कहीं अमेंड करके और रिप्लेस कर रहा है with just information which relates to personal information. But 81J के अंदर सिर्फ personal information नहीं है. But now it is going to be replaced with this wording just personal information. So this is again somewhat ground of criticism. This will undermine the RTI Act 2005. To give just one example, the current requirement for public servants, for example, including judges and Indian Administrative Service officers, that is IAS officers, to disclose their immovable assets will likely to be off limits. So अभी तक क्या है कि जो ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हैं, जो जजेस हैं, अपने immovable asset जो है डिक्लेयर करते हैं इन पब्लिक डोमेन. बट इस रिप्लेसमेंट की वजह से क्या होगा कि सिर्फ पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन को एग्जाम्प्ट किया जा रहा है, तो कहीं ना कहीं इस जो डिस्क्लोजर है उसमें कमी देखने को मिलेगी एंड दिस वुड बी पुट ऑफ द लिमिट्स. दिस इज एंडेड इंफॉर्मेशन रिलेटेड टू पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन तो है, बट इट सर्व्स अ लार्जर पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल टू आइडेंटिफाई पब्लिक सर्वेंट्स विद डिसप्रोपोर्शनेट एसेट्स, कि आपकी जितनी आमदनी है उससे ज्यादा आपने एसेट बना रखा है. ठीक है, सो कहीं ना कहीं डिसप्रोपोर्शनेट मींस करप्शन चार्जेस के केसेस होते हैं जब आप, और जब तक ये इन्फॉर्मेशन पब्लिक में डिस्क्लोज नहीं होगी तब तक पता कैसे लगेगा कि हाँ उसके पास कितना पैसा है. है ना, कितने करप्शन है किए हैं, कुछ disproportionate assets हैं. Therefore, it is ignoring social, political, and legal context as well. The DPDP 2023 suffers from other shortcomings. For instance, the Data Protection Board, an oversight body, will be under the boot of the government, as the chairpersons and members are to be appointed by the central government. And according to section 19, I have already mentioned कि जो board है वो under the oversight of government होगी, because government ही chairperson and members की appointment करने वाली है. So the DPDP Bill 2020 attempts to pass off a lame duck as a watchdog. Lame duck होता है an ineffectual, let us say, a body or entity. Fine. So somewhere this bill is attempting to make a watchdog to something which is already lame duck. Lame duck means something which is already ineffectual. In Europe, now examples from across the world, in Europe especially, GDPR, that is General Data Protection Regulations, set a high standard for data protection. It has a strong watchdog that operates in a society with universal literacy and high digital and financial literacy. For instance, France, the data protection regulator, was able to fine Google 15 million euro for violation of policies related to consent. Yet Edward Snowden, नाम तो सुना ही होगा, warned of the real danger of GDPR becoming a paper tiger, that the problem isn't data protection, the problem is data collection. Restricting data collection is not even being discussed in India. So again, a negative, point. A weak board combined with the lack of universal literacy and poor digital and financial literacy in India, as well as an overburdened legal system, mean that the chances that citizens will be able to seek legal recourse when privacy harms are inflicted on them are slim. Okay? So this is another point of criticism, is somewhere considering our legal system which is already overburdened, considering a board which would be like working like a lame duck, okay, ineffectual. Fine. So considering all this, somewhere the ultimate, the bearer of such or privacy harms, अगर privacy related कुछ disclosure होती है, तो ultimately the chances of getting it resolved or this kind of privacy like issues, ठीक है, so उसमें क्या है कि कहीं ना कहीं slim chances. So this is a good piece of article. Fine. Talking about two things, right to privacy and right to information, integrating the two with respect to the recently passed this from Lok Sabha only, the DPDP bill, Digital Personal Data Protection Bill. Fine. So please do read, revise the same. Next is, and very, very important, and that is India's mining policy shift. So before that, give you a background. Mining policy shift जो है, mining जो act है बहुत पुराना हमारा act है, that is of year 1957 itself, and after that many times government has amended this act in light. Recently अगर amendment की बात करें तो 2015 में, 2020 में, 2021 में. क्यों? क्योंकि जो government का जो focus है that to ensure that private players come and participate in the this extraction of minerals, especially critical and this important minerals. Okay, because we are highly dependent on countries like China, let us say, Australia, Vietnam, even to US for imports of these critical minerals. So therefore, recently amendment bill has focused on bringing more and more of private players in this, or giving more and more, this you can say leeway, or empowering or encouraging private players to actually participate in the mining exploration in India. Okay. Now let us start. On August 2, Parliament passed the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2023 in a bid to attract private sector investment in the exploration of critical and deep-seated minerals in the country. The bill puts 6 minerals, including lithium. Lithium की इंपॉर्टेंस पता होगा, जो भी मोबाइल फोन्स आप यूज करते हो, मोस्टली लिथियम बैटरी उसमें, used in electric vehicles, batteries, and other energy storage solutions, into a list of critical and strategic minerals. The exploration and mining of these 6 minerals, previously classified as atomic minerals, were restricted to government-owned entities only. ठीक है, so previously ये 6 को हम बोलते थे they were classified as atomic minerals, and जब atomic minerals जैसे atomic energy है, तो that comes under the exclusive domain of government only. The only industry which has been, you can say, reserved for the government sector. Under government sector is this atomic energy, atomic industry. How much of India's critical minerals are imported now? So you see, a variety of minerals besides those used in creating fuel are crucial to a country's manufacturing infrastructure and advancement. So all these minerals, the 6 minerals, are very, very important for country's overall development. Fine, especially we are talking about the clean energy, green growth or green GDP and all. So is transition में बहुत ज़्यादा important role है in critical minerals के. Therefore, government is coming up with such kind of amendments. Moreover, the clean energy transitions of countries including India seeking to meet their net zero emission goals are contingent based on the availability of critical minerals such as lithium, which has also been called white gold. So which mineral is known as white gold? It's lithium. Fine. So do remember this fact. And others including cobalt, graphite and rare earth elements or minerals. These are also crucial for the manufacture of semiconductors, जिस पे कि हमारा काफी focus है. Fine. Used in smart electronics, defense and aerospace equipment, telecommunication technologies and so on. So you can see कि इनकी application जो है काफी wider application है and especially in critical and strategic areas में, इसलिए इनको बोलते हैं critical and strategic minerals. ठीक है. So the lack of availability of such minerals or the concentration of their extraction or processing in few geographical locations leads to import dependency, supply chain vulnerabilities and even disruption of their supplies. So these are the downsides or negatives of high dependency on imports. For instance, China has majority ownership of cobalt mines in DRC, that is Democratic Republic of Congo. डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक ऑफ कॉन्गो में जो कोबाल्ट माइंस है उसमें 70% जो स्टेक है वो चाइना की है. Where 70% of the world's cobalt is mined, China also has by far the largest amount of reserves of rare earth elements of any country in the world, followed by Vietnam, Brazil and Russia. So you see China क्यों इतना तरक्की कर रहा है? कहते हैं China is about even challenging US today. So because it has critical or rare earth elements or minerals, fine, which are the building blocks of today's strategic and critical sectors, emerging sectors, especially the technology sector, semiconductor and all. Major economies including the US, UK and the European Union in the recent past have moved to secure supply chain resilience for such minerals and to reduce reliance for their availability on countries like China. Now what is happening in India? So first aspect is to recognize the problem, fine, then frame the policies and come up with a solution. So Ministry of Mines in India in June this year came out with a list of 30 minerals critical to the country's economic development and national security. However, India is highly dependent on imports from majority of minerals on this list. For instance, as per figure quoted by the ministry itself, India is 100% import dependent on countries including China, Russia, Australia, South Africa and the US. Let us say China के साथ relation ही अच्छे नहीं है, then what will happen? So therefore dependency जो है उसको कम करने की जरूरत है. Especially we are highly dependent for the supply of critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, niobium, beryllium and tantalum. So these are the 6 critical minerals you can see. Also for deep-seated minerals like gold, silver, copper, zinc, lead, nickel, cobalt, platinum group elements. तो आपको पता होना चाहिए पहले डिफरेंस क्या है क्रिटिकल में एंड डीप सीटेड मिनरल्स में. तो एग्जांपल के थ्रू आप इसको याद रख सकते हो. And diamonds, which are difficult and expensive to explore and mine as compared to superficial or bulk minerals. Superficial are actually located on the surface of the earth itself, or bulk minerals, India depends largely on imports. ठीक है. So India deep seated minerals में भी काफी डिपेंडेंट है. जैसे गोल्ड ही है तो गोल्ड हम काफी ज्यादा इंपोर्ट करते हैं. ठीक है. For instance, in 2022-23 itself, India imported close to 12 lakh tons of copper worth 27,000 crore as per official figure. So you can see how much we are dependent. Now, why is private sector vital for critical mineral exploration? सबसे पहले प्राइवेट की जरूरत क्यों पड़ती है? Number 1 is for fund, पैसा चाहिए. Second, technologies. Private sector has far better technologies than government sector, especially. Fine. Studies by certain organizations such as the Atomic Mineral Directorate for Exploration and Research and Center for Social and Economic Progress (CACP) noted that India's unique geological and tectonic setting is conducive to hosting potential mineral resources and that its geological history is similar to the mining rich regions of Western Australia and Eastern Africa. Continent drift theory, fine, उसमें बात की जाती है कि all together these were connected actually lands or the continents. So therefore what is available or what the important minerals, critical minerals are available in the Western Australia and Eastern Africa would probably be available in India as well. ठीक है. So the primary step to discovering mineral resources or eventually finding economically viable reserves is mineral exploration, which comes in various stages before mining. Now what are these stages? Now preliminary exam के point of view से stages भी important है काफी. The stages of exploration are divided as per the United Nations framework for classification of resource into G4. G4, that is group 4, is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance क्या होता है? Reconnaissance is basically surveying the field or the land actually. ठीक है, स्टडी करना उस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड के जहां पे लगता है कि प्रोबेबल चांसेस हैं मिनरल अवेलेबल होने की. जो थर्ड जो आपकी स्टेज है और जो ग्रुप है, दैट इज आउट ऑफ 4 ग्रुप्स यू हैव प्रोस्पेक्टिंग, दैट यू are prospecting for the availability of the minerals. G2 second जो group है, that is general exploration, and G1 finally is the detailed exploration. So these are the 4 different stages of exploration. Notably, it is estimated that India has explored just 10% of its obvious geological potential. Fine. So सिर्फ just 10% ही हम अपनी potential का अभी तक explore कर पाए हैं. Less than 2% of which is mined, and the country spends less than 1% of the global mineral exploration budget. Not many significant mineral discoveries have taken place in the country in the last couple of decades, therefore, and mainly अगर ये हमने किया भी है survey, तो basically these surveys were led by GSI, that is Geological Survey of India, and other public sector undertakings like mineral exploration, but not by the private, with a very little private sector participation. ठीक है, इशू क्यों है? क्यों भाई अगर प्राइवेट सेक्टर की पार्टिसिपेशन कम है तो क्यों है? हिस्टोरिकली ऐसा क्यों है? तो उसके लिए कुछ रीजंस भी हैं. India's mining policy had kept greenfield exploration of minerals out of the purview of private sector explorers for some years. Greenfield means altogether scratch से. ठीक है, सो गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी ये थी कि सिर्फ हम वहां पे प्राइवेट सेक्टर को एंट्री देंगे जहां पे ऑलरेडी किसी गवर्नमेंट की पीएसयू ने या एंटिटी ने एक्सप्लोरेशन करी होगी. ठीक है, सो ऑलरेडी यूज्ड या एक्सप्लोर्ड जो ब्लॉक्स हैं, मिनरल ब्लॉक्स, उसको देंगे प्राइवेट सेक्टर को. दैट वाज द वन पॉलिसी इशू. Second is exploration requires techniques like aerial survey, geological mapping, and geochemical analysis, and is highly specialized, time-intensive, and monetarily risky operation, with less than 1% of explored projects becoming commercially viable mines. So these are another factors that why actually we could have explored only less than the only just 10% of the available potential the minerals in India. Fine. So these are the major issues actually. Okay. But there are certain, what we can learn, what could be the lessons that we can learn from across the world. So you can see Honorable Minister of Mines mentioned that the new bill seeks to bring exploration process in India at par with that of the developed countries by getting private sector capacity into exploration, giving examples of Australia. So what is the Australian model of exploration? That is important to understand. So in Australia and multiple other jurisdictions globally, प्राइवेट माइनिंग जो फर्म्स हैं एक्चुअली दे कॉल्ड जूनियर एक्सप्लोरर्स. ठीक है, so they called junior explorers engage in risk taking by putting their expertise. ठीक है, तो जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं जिनको कि जूनियर एक्सप्लोरर्स कहते हैं, they actually put their expertise, their technologies, and they have unlimited financials into explorations to find potential mines. Now जब इन्होंने डिस्कवर कर ली माइंस, ठीक है, एक्सप्लोर कर ली, उसके बाद क्या होता है? Once discovered, these private companies can sell these to bigger mining companies who then develop and run these mines. So you can see somewhere there are different layers of exploration of minerals and selling of minerals in Australia, particularly other European countries. So this helps multiply exploration projects and accelerate the pace of exploration owing to private participation. So this is the model of Australian model that actually we can think of imitating in India also. Fine. So is India's mining policy conducive to private participation? Now this is a question. Remember, first of all, we have Mines and Minerals Act, MMRDR Act 1957. The primary legislation governing mining in the country has been amended several times since its enactment. And recently amendments की बात करें तो अभी तो August 2 को हुआ है, 2023 में, इससे पहले 2015, 2020 एंड 2021, ठीक है। सो ऑलमोस्ट 4, अगर 2015 की बात करें या इस सरकार के टेन्योर की बात करें तो उसमें 4th अमेंडमेंट हमें देखने को मिल रहा है रिसेंट में, ठीक है, रिसेंट टाइम्स में। एंड फोकस सबका ये है कि प्राइवेट पार्टिसिपेशन जो है उसको बढ़ाया जाए, ठीक है, बिकॉज वी नीड एक्सपर्टाइज, वी नीड फंड्स, वी नीड टेक्नोलॉजीज एंड दैट कैन कम फ्रॉम प्राइवेट सेक्टर ओनली। सो देयरफॉर द फोकस इज टू okay, so in the early 2010s, as the mining industry seemed to be gathering momentum, concerns about favoritism and misuse started coming up in the allocation of 2G spectrum. 2G spectrum allocation में जो गड़बड़ी हुई थी आपको पता होगा, and natural resources like coal blocks and the Supreme Court intervened. तो coal blocks के allocation में भी कुछ खामियां देखने को मिली थी, corruptions and all scandal हुए थे। उसमें कोल ब्लॉक जो उस टाइम के एलोकेटेड थे उसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने नल एंड वॉइड डिक्लेयर कर दिया था, ठीक है। फिर दोबारा से सरकार को बिडिंग करानी पड़ी। In 2015, the MMDR Act was amendment to allow private companies to participate in government auctions for mining leases and composite licenses. Composite license में ये होता है mining कम this exploration कम mining leases. However, due to evidence of mineral content rule, only government explored projects were auctioned. So again issue यहाँ पे है कि ग्रीन फील्ड जो हमने बात की उसको नहीं ऑफर किया गया फॉर प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स, बट ओनली फॉर द brown field, you can say कि those field which were already explored by some government entity, ठीक है। So the amendment also permitted private firms to register as exploration agencies with the National Mineral Exploration Trust, funding for G4 to G1 exploration. G4 to G1 हम बात कर चुके हैं, 4 stages of exploration, but private participation remained limited, ठीक है। Now how does the Mines and Minerals Bill, the recent amendment 2007, aim to encourage private players? So there are certain points. First is the bill omits at least 6 previously mentioned atomic minerals from the list of 12 which cannot be commercially mined. तो इसमें से 12 जो टोटल लिस्टेड अंडर एटॉमिक लिस्ट, दिस एटॉमिक आपकी जो पहले एटॉमिक एनर्जी एंड एटॉमिक मिनरल्स जो थे उसमें 12 जो थे उसमें से 6 ऐसे मिनरल्स हैं क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स जो हमने देखा लिथियम, बेरिलियम एंड ऑल, जिसको गवर्नमेंट ने ओमिट कर दिया, एग्जेम्प्ट कर दिया फ्रॉम दैट लिस्ट। मींस नाउ दिस कैन बी open for the private sector mining, ठीक है। Next is secondly the act prohibits pitting, trenching, drilling and all these activities, subsurface excavation as a part of reconnaissance which included mapping and surveys. The bill allowed these prohibited activities now. Earlier it was prohibited. The bill also proposes, third point, a new type of license to encourage reconnaissance level or prospective stage exploration by the private sector, ठीक है। So this is the new level which has been added to this bill. This exploration license for a period of 5 years will be granted by the state government by way of competitive bidding. So this is the 4th provision. Next, it also specifies the maximum area for exploration activities in up to 1000 square kilometer will be allowed under a single exploration license. So another good thing, so you can see this is the 4th provision or 5th provision. It also states that the license will be allowed to retain up to 25% of the originally authorized area after the first 3 years after submitting a report to the state government. So this is the 5th part, means जितना भी explore किया आपने एक private player 25% of that area can kept for further use or can kept with itself. While most auctions are reserved for state governments in the act, there are certain or specified critical and strategic minerals for the central government as well. So यहाँ पे cooperative federalism हमें देखने को मिल रहा है कि सेंटर ने काफी हद तक जो rights and all इसको दे दिया states को. Now what are the some of the possible issues within the bill? So industry exports and organizations like CSCP had pointed out certain issues, जहाँ पे हमने CSCP यहाँ देखा था, and made recommendations on the proposed amendments. Now the primary way of generating revenue for a private company that has an exploration license would be a share of the premium paid by the miner which would come only after successful discovered mine. यहाँ पे इशू है, यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ये कहती है कि जब तक सक्सेसफुली डिस्कवर्ड माइन नहीं पता लग जाता तब तक जो प्लेयर है, जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर है एक्चुअली जिसको कि एक्सप्लोरेशन लाइसेंस दी गई है उसको जो है प्रीमियम पेड नहीं की जाएगी बाय द माइनर इटसेल्फ, ठीक है। अब यहाँ पे इशू ये है कि whether the company would wait for this or whether this conditionality is going to impact the participation of private sector or not. So what has been said by the experts? CSCP mentions that the example of घोरा भुरानी सगा शाही आयरन ओर माइंस, ये ओडिशा में है, रिमेंबर. A greenfield captive mine which was auctioned in 2016, even though it was bulk mineral production started only in late 2021, taking close to 6 years to receive the necessary clearances. So see, कि एक क्लियरेंस देने में 6 साल लग रहे हैं, तो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स इसलिए नहीं आते. ठीक है. So this is a major issue, one of the major issues. The explorer would not know how much revenue they will receive as the auction premium would be known only when a mine is successfully auctioned. ये second issue है कि उसको पता ही नहीं लगेगा कि उसको कितना रिटर्न आने वाला है unless until this is not finally concluded or not finally successful, not going to be successful. Fine. So another issue. Now Vedanta Group economist Dheeraj Nayyar has said that while it is feasible to auction something that has non-value like a spectrum or discovered mineral deposit, it is difficult to auction something for which exploration has not begun yet. So another, this is a third issue. Besides, in its 2012 ruling, the Supreme Court had observed that since big capital investment go into discovering natural resources through exploration and mining contracts, companies would only want to spend big amounts if they are assured of utilizing any discovered resources. So this is the fourth issue underlined by the Supreme Court. In the new policy, only the government can auction what an explorer has discovered, and the latter would only get a share of the premium at an unknown stage. Now this is the fifth issue, कि only government can auction and the discoverer will get premium but at unknown stage. So यहाँ पे भी ambiguity है. This is unlike other global jurisdiction where private explorers can sell their discoveries to mines. So यहाँ पे selling की right जो है इंडिया में वो गवर्नमेंट के पास है, ना कि private players के पास जिन्होंने डिस्कवर किया उस माइन को. Fine. Unlike other provisions in other countries, let us say in Australia or other global jurisdictions. Okay. So this is the important article which gives us idea about why private participants are not coming up, or private players are reluctant in participating in the mineral exploration in India. We have potential and we have just explored till now 10% of our potential. So we have 90% of the potential left, but for that we need fund, apart from technology and expertise, which can come only from the private sectors. Right? So this is this article in that perspective, a very good piece of article. Do read and revise. Okay, now quickly let us look at the miscellaneous facts from the prelims exam point of view. So what's important? Let's quickly scan. ये हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. डिजिटल पर्सनल डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल, यू कैन सी अमिड कंसर्न लोकसभा पासेस दिस. नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन बिल क्लियर्ड, हमने नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन को भी डिटेल में डिस्कस किया है काफी पहले. फाइन. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन अगर थोड़ी सी देख लो रिवीजन के लिए, तो इट प्लान्स टू इन्वॉल्व द प्राइवेट सेक्टर विच करंटली कंट्रीब्यूट्स अराउंड 36% टू रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर इन बिगर वे. ओवरऑल इंडिया की जो एक्सपेंडिचर टू आउट ऑफ जीडीपी देखें, शेयर ऑफ जीडीपी that we spend on research and development, that is just around 0.6%, which is far lesser than other countries, even if you compare China and all. So Rajya Sabha clears Delhi services bill backed by 131 MPs. इसकी बात हम कर चुके हैं. This is of course related to the only Delhi bill related to the appointment of bureaucrats. ठीक है. इंटरनेशनल चीता एक्सपर्ट्स विल बी कंसल्टेड, गवर्नमेंट टेल सुप्रीम कोर्ट. जैसे कि हमने कल भी डिस्कस किया था कि कूनो नेशनल पार्क जो है मध्य प्रदेश में, वहां पे हम अभी तक 6 चीता जो है वो उनकी डेथ हो चुकी है, जो कि हम ट्रांसलोकेट कर रहे हैं फ्रॉम अफ्रीकन कंट्री, स्पेशली फ्रॉम नाइजीरिया एंड ऑल. फाइन. क्योंकि चीता की पॉपुलेशन जो इंडिया में वो खत्म हो गई थी 1948 इटसेल्फ. ठीक है. सो इसलिए अब हम इंटरनेशनल एक्सपर्ट्स की हेल्प लेंगे, ये ऐसा कहा है गवर्नमेंट ने अपने एफिडेविट में इन सुप्रीम कोर्ट. ठीक है. चलो, लोकसभा passes pharmacy amendment bill 2023 as well. तो इस पे भी टैप रखना. एक्सरसाइज मालाबार टू बी हेल्ड फ्रॉम अगस्त 2011 to 21. एक्सरसाइज मालाबार से पहले ये जानना जरूरी कि मालाबार है क्या. सो मालाबार इज अ कोस्ट, एक्चुअली द साउथ वेस्टर्न कोस्ट ऑफ इंडिया, विच स्प्रेड्स फ्रॉम स्ट्रेच फ्रॉम कोंकण, दैट इज गोवा से लेकर के आपका कन्याकुमारी तक, कोंकण टू कन्याकुमारी. एंड स्टेट्स की अगर हम बात करें तो गोवा, कर्नाटका, केरला एंड तमिलनाडु. ये वाला जो इलाका स्ट्रेच है जो आपकी साउथ वेस्टर्न कोस्ट ऑफ इंडिया, ये वाला पार्ट जब आप मैप ड्रॉ करते हो तो ये वाला जो पार्ट है इंडिया के, ये वाला, ये सारा स्ट्रेच. ठीक है. तो ये आपके अरेबियन सी में ये वाला कवर हो जाता है इसमें. ठीक है. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड मालाबार कोस्ट. इसलिए इस एक्सरसाइज का नाम ही है मालाबार एक्सरसाइज। इसमें जो प्लेयर्स हैं, जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं, तो ये इस टाइम हेल्ड कहाँ होने जा रहा है, दैट इज ऑफ द कोस्ट दिस सिडनी, ठीक है, इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया ऑफ कोर्स इन द वाटर्स इंडियन ओशन एंड ऑल। तो पार्टिसिपेंट जो कंट्री है वो क्वाड मेंबर्स ही हैं। क्वाड मेंबर्स कौन से हैं, 4 हैं, आपको पता है, इंडिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, जापान एंड यूएस, फाइन। एंड इट विल बी हेल्ड बिटवीन 11 to 21 अगस्त, सो याद रखना। इसके बाद द सेकंड एक्सरसाइज विल बी ऑस्ट्रेलिया इंडेक्स, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड इंडिया दिस एक्सरसाइज, एंड बोथ ऑफ दीज आर द नेवी एक्सरसाइज, नवल एक्सरसाइज, ठीक है, ये माइंड में रखना, फाइन। दैट्स इट अबाउट दिस। इंडियन मेड सिरप फाउंड कंटामिनेटेड इन इराक, अलर्ट्स WHO। सो हमारे काफ़ी सारी कंपनीज के सिरप जो बने हुए हैं इंडिया में वो कंटामिनेटेड मिल रहे हैं या उनसे डेथ हो रही है दूसरी कंट्रीज में, जो कि ठीक नहीं है अपनी गुडविल के लिए, बिकॉज वी आर नोन एज द फार्मेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, ठीक है। तो हमें उस चीज़ का ध्यान रखना चाहिए। ओके, फाइनली पेंडिंग GST अपील सर्ज इन Q1। ओके, व्हाट एल्स इंपॉर्टेंट, यूएई ने एक प्रॉमिस किया था कि विल बी स्पेंड इन्वेस्टिंग $2 बिलियन इन इंडियन फूड पार्क्स, जो कि काफ़ी टाइम से टाल मटोल चल रहा है यूएई की साइड से। तो एक कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न है हमारे लिए, ठीक है, कि अभी तक इसमें फाइनल इन्वेस्टमेंट यूएई ने नहीं किया है, ठीक है। तो इट्स अ कॉज ऑफ कंसर्न, दे आर गिविंग रीजंस लाइक बूस्ट टू फूड सिक्योरिटी एंड 3 जो एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज एक्ट हैं उस वो भी उनके साइड से इशू है, बिकॉज जो ये एक्ट है एसेंशियल कमोडिटीज एक्ट, as 3 of the identified crops like onions, rice and bananas being covered under this essential commodities act, जिसका कि ऑलमोस्ट इस कंटेक्स्ट में कंसर्न है यूएई साइड को, ठीक है। सो दीज आर द पॉइंट्स एक्चुअली जिसकी वजह से ये मटेरियलाइज नहीं हो पाए इन्वेस्टमेंट। फाइनली वी हैव लैंडेड ऑन द स्पोर्ट्स पेज, ठीक है। ऐसा कोई ऑस्ट्रेलियन ओपन चल रहा है तो फाइनल जो रिजल्ट आएगा हम देख लेंगे, इसके अलावा ऐसा कुछ खास रिलेवेंट नहीं है। सो दैट्स इट एज फार एज द टुडेज हिंदू एनालिसिस कंसर्न। इससे पहले कि हम चलें क्विकली हम आज का क्वेश्चन देख लेते हैं, यू कैन टेक द स्क्रीनशॉट एज वेल, ठीक है। तो ये आपका आज का क्वेश्चन है बेस्ड ऑन आवर डिस्कशन। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर प्रीलिम्स इज कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट दैट 30th एडिशन ऑफ एक्सरसाइज मालाबार टू बी हेल्ड ऑफ फ्रॉम सिडनी फ्रॉम August 11 to 21। Second statement, the quad members will be taking part in this exercise. You have 4 options, you have to choose the one correct option. Second statement is, देखो इस तरह के रियल में जो क्वेश्चंस हैं वो मोर और लेस इस तरह के एग्जाम्स में आते हैं, स्पेशली जीएस में। तो ये आपके आता है मिनरल एक्सप्लोरेशन, ठीक है, ये आपकी इकोनॉमी में भी कवर्ड होता है GS3। So the lack of private sector participation in mineral exploration has hindered India's ability to discover and develop economically viable reserves. Examine this statement in the light of recently amended Mines and Minerals Bill 2023. Fine. This is how actually UPSC asks questions if you go through the previous year question paper. So therefore, this is for, oh I forgot to mention the words. So 15 mark का question है ये, क्वेश्चन है प्लस 250 वर्ड्स, ठीक है। तो इसमें 15 मार्क्स के लिए 250 वर्ड्स में आपको इसको आंसर करना है, एड्रेस करना है इस क्वेश्चन को, ठीक है, जिसको कि हम कल डिस्कस करेंगे सबसे पहले बिफोर स्टार्टिंग विद द हिंदू एनालिसिस, ठीक है। So that's it from my side. Thank you and keep revising the things. Take care and stay tuned for the tomorrow's Hindu analysis. Thank you.